And welcome students to web design. We're going to be using Adobe Dreamweaver for a lot of our web development. So I went ahead and loaded the Adobe Dreamweaver app. If it is your first time using the app, you might have this splash screen here. I'm just going to go ahead and click yes I have because I'm just going to skip through some of the stuff here. And they're going to ask you to choose a theme that you can choose. I'm just going to leave it on the gray, which is fine. And then of course you can choose between developer or standard workspace. It's just pretty much however you want to do it. So you can do either one. For now, let's just start with developer because you can always change it later. And then here they just want to talk about what's new, so you can kind of choose through that. I'm just going to go ahead and close out of it here and get us into this view here. All right. And like I said, you can change the view. If you go over to views here, you can see we have different views. This pop-up came up, so we're just going to allow access. Alright, and if we wanted to change that view off developer, like say if you want a standard view, and if I click right over here in the corner, I can change it from developer to standard, and it just switches those views around. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, it's a personal preference of how you want to do it, but let's go ahead and get started with actually making our first web page here. So we're going to go right up to File here, and we're going to go down to New. And we're going to get this dialog window here, and what we want to do is create our first HTML file. And you'll notice right away on the new document, we have a whole bunch of different options in here. And the one we're going to start with is HTML. And we're not going to add any framework on it for now. We're just going to go ahead and add stuff in here. So we're going to go ahead and in our document title, let's call this HTML exercise 1. We leave the doc type as HTML5 because we want to use the newest HTML standards. For now, we're not going to attach any CSS files, so then we're just going to go ahead and click Create. And you can see that it's created a very basic web page. It's got the view up here. I'm just going to close this. And down here's your code. Now, there's several different ways that you can look at this. If you go up here to View, you can look at, for example, your split here. And you can see right now it's split between code and live view. You have options also. You can do code and design, code, and all sorts of other things. Now, me personally, I don't like the horizontal split. I personally prefer the vertical split because I like to see the code side by side. And I also like looking at my code on the right side here. So I'm just going to switch these around here. So my code's down on the left side, live view's over here. And if at any point you need to toggle into just one, you'll notice right up here you have code, split, and live. And if I click on that, it would take me to just code view or just live view. And if I click split, it takes me back to that view that I have. Now they also have in here design view, which we're not going to work with right now. But design view is pretty much if you were doing just more straight up design. So in here, we have these two different setups here. Again, this is the code side, this is the live view side. All right, so right now what we want to do is to go ahead and save our program here so that way we can actually get to work on it. So first thing to do is go to File, and I always choose Save All because even though you can just save an individual file, as we get later on into using things like CSS and stuff like that, we're going to have multiple files we're working with, so it's always a good idea just to do a Save All. Now it's going to ask me to save these files here. And so what I want you to do is take these and put them on your N drive. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and create a folder called Web Design. You can see I have multiple folders in here because I have multiple things going on. But just create a folder for Web Design for this class. And inside there, go ahead and create yourself a folder called HTML because that's where we're going to put our HTML exercises in. And go ahead and open that up. And then down in here in the file type, go ahead and put HTML exercise 1. Then just go ahead and click on Save. Now our file is saved and it's on our N drive. Remember, it's always important to save it on our N drive because then if for some reason we need to move to another computer or something like that, the file is going to follow with us. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at what our web page looks like at this point. Because like I said, we've created the file, but what does it actually look like? So down here in the very bottom of the screen, you'll see this thing that says real-time preview. All right. If you click on that, you can see that there's options for previewing in browser. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Google Chrome, and it's going to go ahead and try to render my web page. And you can see here on this web page, it's pretty blank. There's nothing here. And the reason for that is because we haven't really done anything with our actual HTML file. So let's just go ahead and close Chrome to get back to Dreamweaver. And inside of here, let's go ahead and add some code so that way we can have this. And I want you to go ahead and follow along with this video here to go ahead and create this starting code. So let's go ahead and add in some code. I'm going to add in a H1 tag. Right, and you can see that Dreamweaver automatically will add what's called a closing tag. So this is what's known as a start tag, and this is a closing tag. The difference between them is that the closing tag, you'll notice, has a slash in it. Otherwise, they are identical. All right, so inside this, I'm going to go ahead and just type my first heading. All right, and you could even make it capitalized and stuff like that if you want. And you can notice as I'm doing this, typing in here in the live view, it's automatically populating it in the live view. Right. Now what I want to do is add, let's say, a paragraph. So I'm going to go click outside of the heading tag and hit enter. I'm going to add a paragraph tag, which is just a P, and you can see Dreamweaver automatically closes it for me again. And I'm going to say my first paragraph. Now you might wonder, besides the sizing issue, what's the difference between a heading and a paragraph? Well, remember, a header is like if you're reading, let's say, a newspaper or a book or something like that, that's like the title of the article or the title of the chapter, something like that. It's there to identify that piece of content. The paragraph is just the actual text that you would read. The H1, reason why it's H1 is because there's actually different heading sizes. And we'll get into that later in Dreamweaver. But each of these tags are representing of something. So first off, you have the HTML tag right here. And that pretty much identifies what type of document it is. You also have the doc type HTML up here. That is a HTML5 standard that helps identify further this HTML document. You have the body tag, which is going to hold pretty much, for now, all of our web design code that we're doing. So everything you have right now is going inside the body. Right. Now, let's go ahead and save this. Right. And if we go ahead and preview this again, we should hopefully see those changes pop up on our web page. And you can see now it says my first heading, my first paragraph. So we now know that those are there. Right? And the reason why we wanted to preview this in a browser rather than just looking at it in live view is because sometimes live view isn't 100% accurate to each browser settings. So like how things are rendered in Chrome versus Firefox versus Edge versus Internet Explorer are going to have different views sometimes for different things. Right? So congratulations, you have made your first web page. Right? What I'm going to want you to do though in order to submit these files for me is in that folder that you made earlier. So in this HTML folder, you should open that up and see this HTML exercise 1. What you're going to want to do is include for me a copy of this file, and then also there's going to be self-test questions that you're going to answer afterwards. And so I'm also going to have an exercise for you to do. There'll be a lab component, but go ahead and put this in here just as proof that you've completed this lesson. All right? And this first exercise, because it's part of the lecture, you don't need to include this, but there is that assignment component that you will have to upload, and this is how you get it. You just take this file right here and upload it into the assignment piece. All right, folks, until next time when we get to learn more about web design,